Hello, welcome back. This time we're going to look at getting your gang into Roll20. So using those default or template character sheets and the information that you've built into Yaktribe and the tokens you've made. So if you're doing this as a sort of step-by-step process following these videos, this is where you'll have got to. So first thing, in Roll20, I'm in the images part and I want to upload my tokens. So I've got them in... ready to go out of this window and uploading images to Roll20. You can either choose it here or you can just drag and drop them in. So I'm going to load in all 4 of those tokens, and there they are. And I just like to move them straight into to get them filed, because it can be a bit tricky playing around with images in Roll20. Like if you just leave them all in the uploads area. Yeah, so they are all now in there. And I'm going to need those as I create my characters. The first thing I'm going to do is over here, have your template character sheet ready to go. For anyone who's playing in this particular campaign, this will be here. Please don't change it. Just make a copy like I'm going to show you now. And if anyone else is setting up their own and wants to do a similar thing, I mean, this obviously you can do what you want, but this is how I'm doing it. So I want to go into the template character, duplicate it, save it, and then close it so nothing changes, and I just want to drag that into my gang, and then I want to edit this copy. So I'm going to make so Kyrie, my leader. I'm just going to drag this over to my other screen, so I've got it available there, and I want to edit this, and once it's there I just want to drag it over. Firstly, the leader token, because this is my leader, I want to drop that in as the avatar, so that when it's in my gang list I can see that that's my leader. I'll be able to see who are gangers, who are Jews and champions. They'll all be in there. Also want another copy of that image though, which I'm going to drop straight onto the tabletop, and that is yeah, size to be appropriate size. I've currently got a 1-inch square grid on this map. When it comes to playing, I'll remove the grids, which allows for more sort of freer movement. It will be more appropriate for sort of an open gridless game like Necromunda. But I will come back to that token afterwards. So things I want to do is make the name of this character my leader's name. I want it to be available to all players, but just editable by me. And then come down to bio and info and just follow these instructions. So it says to insert characteristics under attributes and abilities tab, which we'll come back to, and then fill in these details. So I'm just going to fill in these details here, and then I'll cut to it being finished basically. Okay, so that's just filled in name of the character, their role, so this is leader, champion, gang or Jeeve, any skills that they may have, which will only be leaders and champions at first of course, and a quick description of what it does, so in case I need to look it up later, and also so the opponents looking at it can see what those skills do without having to go and look it up themselves. What weapons they've got, what war gear they've got, so all pretty self-explanatory, all simple stuff, and this will be available for everybody to see, and we'll just come up like that. Anyone who doesn't have access to edit this sheet will be able to see that. Now, attributes and abilities, we need to go over here. So as I explained before when I was explaining how this sheet works, this is the profile for an Orlok ganger. An Escher leader will have a different profile, so I need to update these. I need to update all of these, but I think an Orlok ganger is kind of, I think, aimed at being like the average point for the game. So there'll be, yeah, I don't know where I'm getting that from, but I think that's why it was chosen as that sort of basic example profile. So yeah, some of these won't change very much. So I'm just going to change these this profile to match my leaders, and then cut back again at the end. Okay, so that is that profile. So one thing I need to do is to put in the maximum wounds, which we'll come on to. Yeah, I just missed that, but yeah, so wounds is the only one you have a maximum and a current value on. Otherwise it's just everything's going to be current. You don't track, like, things don't reduce like wounds do. Wounds are like hit points. Yeah, that's why you have a maximum and a current for those. But yeah, so I filled in those attributes for an Escher leader, filled in the name of the weapons. I've gone for 2 different plasma pistol ones, so I've gone low and max power. So I can differentiate them because I've got plenty of space. You can be carrying 3 other things that make attacks before I'd need to consider putting those together probably. But yeah, so that is that bit done. The last thing to do here, where are we? In fact, yeah, the next thing to do, so we go into edit there and then leave that for a second, because we need to edit this token. So this is the token we dropped onto the board for an Escher leader that I'm making. So double clicking on a token brings up the settings for that token. And what I want to do is link this token to the character I've just made, which is Kyrie. So it's saved. I want to make the nameplate visible so everyone can see the name on the tabletop. But to make it so everyone can see, I want players to be able to see it. And then same with bar 1. Bar 1 is where we're going to track wounds. And if I make that visible to everybody, everyone's going to be able to see how many wounds this person has remaining. Next things we want to do is just over on this legacy lighting. So the updated dynamic lighting I find really unreliable on Roll20, and every time I try and do something with it, it just doesn't work. So I'm using the legacy lighting for as long as I possibly can, and hopefully it will work properly by the time I switch it off. But I'll go onto legacy lighting. I'm going to use for now. Make sure the token has sight at an angle of 90 degrees. So I mentioned back when we were making tokens that that's why we have this triangle on, to give a sort of general approximation of what it's going to look like. But putting a 90-degree angle on is 90 degrees at the top of the token. We can look at rotating that in a sec. We don't need it to emit light itself, because I'm going to set up all the maps to just be lit, and line of sight to just be blocked by things that will block line of sight. Yeah, so we can look at that later. I think when I go over maps in a later video, we'll look at that properly and how that all interacts. But for now, this is how I want to set up each token. So I save that, closes those token settings, and then with that token selected, I want to use selected token on here, and then save that, and that permanently links that token with this character sheet. So I can delete this token, and then find my leader in here. I can drag her onto any tabletop, and it will bring that token on with all those settings that we just put in. One other thing, quick tip: if you hold Shift and double click a token, it will open up the character sheet for the character who's linked to that token. So you can see that, yeah, by linking the token in, once you've put all the settings in, make sure you do it after you've done all the settings rather than before. But it creates a permanent link between the two to leave those on. And that really is it. So that is yeah, just the way you'd go about creating each of your characters, using the information that you've put into Yaktribe to create your gang. And that's how we get them into Roll20. And now I can use all of these macros that are built into the character sheet to roll any rolls that this person needs to make. A quick look at the dynamic lighting thing that we set up with a 90-degree vision arc. I'm just going to zoom in on this as well. There we go. So this is the person here. How much do we need to go out a little bit? I think we can go out a little bit, because some of these things that pop up can get in the way of what we're looking at. So as a GM in a Roll20 thing, which I'm planning on making everybody who plays in this a GM, so they can get all the same features. But if you hold Control and press L, you get to see what the character sees. This is really useful when you're GMing an RPG, because you can check on what your characters can see. They just get this view by default as players. But yeah, this is the 90-degree arc that this person has. If we zoom in a bit more, I actually can't see the triangle very well at all. I might have to look at making these lines thicker. But you can see it is generally, if you can see this, actually, it is very faint, much fainter than I imagined it was going to be. So I'm going to consider making these lines thicker, perhaps redoing these tokens before I create my whole gang. But if you can see the triangle here, it's basically there, and it's a really quite good approximation of this fire arc. So if I don't have that dynamic lighting on, I can look at where I want my characters to face. Perhaps their target's over here. I want to make sure they can see it, and that triangle does give a bit of an approximation. But if I want to check properly, Control and L will show me that 90 degrees that they've got. Yeah, so that's how we're looking with that. And without the grid, so with the grid on, when you're rotating, you get sort of snapping to like 45 degrees. If I try to do it like that, it'd just snap it. you can hold Alt while you're rotating something, and then let go of the mouse before the Alt key to put it where you want. You can do that with movement as well. So if I wanted to leave it in the middle of some squares, I can do that. If you don't hold Alt down, it will just snap into position with a grid. That's why I want to turn the grid off when it comes to actually playing Necromunda in this, to give you much more freedom in the movement, because it's an open movement game. It's not tied to a grid, so snapping into grid positions wouldn't be helpful. But yeah, basically I need to do that for each of my characters in this gang. I'm going to check out making some thicker lined triangles, because I think they're a bit more effective on this Delac one. I might need just more of a contrasting colour, maybe a darker grey, and perhaps a thicker line, so that they stand out as much as they do on these Delac tokens. Yeah, but that's about it for these. So it's just a matter of copying that template character in Edit, duplicate it, make a new version, and then make sure you edit that new version to create your new character, so that you don't lose the template. And once you've got, say, one ganger in, you could go in to that ganger, edit it, duplicate that ganger rather than the template, and then you don't have to change the profiles later. There'll be fewer things you need to change. Basically, it'll just be the name and make sure their equipment matches. That's what I'm going to do anyway. Once I've created one ganger, I'm going to copy that ganger and for all my gangers rather than back to the template character. But yeah, I might even could well even just copy this leader now. But yeah, the template character needs to remain untouched. Rambling a bit now, but yeah, not sure what we're looking at next specifically. There's plenty more to look at, but I don't know what's going to be next. But that's it for now. I'll see you in the next one.